This one is for the educators. Happy Thursday, guys. Today's Write Like is based on the same book we looked at on Tuesday, Kwame Alexander's The Undefeated. If you haven't had a chance, you can flip back over to Tuesday's lesson. I encourage you to hear it read by the author himself and experience it for the first time if you haven't had a chance to dig in yet. Super powerful reading. In Tuesday's Write About, I also read the afterwards. You've got a more complete picture of the book in its entirety. And today we're going to write like Kwame. I'm going to focus on steps 3 and 4 of the Write Like routine, which means we're going to focus really on his craft and give it our best shot. We're going to do some try-its together, and I encourage you to do some on your own and to throw it back. So I started out today, this is for the educators. That's the topic I have in mind today as we tackle this target. I can write like an author by closely studying and imitating his craft moves so that I can discover ways to share my stories with the world. So if we think about this, one thing I just want to, as a side note, mention that part of the power in this text is in the illustrations. And if you watch Kwame's read aloud of the text, you can see the pictures. This book not only won the Newbery Honor this year, it also won the Caldecott Medal for the illustrations. So just know that as we study the craft today, we really are studying Kwame's work, and yet the book would not be what it is unless we recognize the illustrator, who I believe is Kadir Nelson. So thanks, guys, for putting out such an amazing book, and I can't wait to dig into it with you. I'm going to go ahead and navigate here to my camera so that you can watch what's happening in my writer's notebook as we do this. I encourage you to have your writer's notebook up and out and in front of you so that you can do this work right along with me. You might also need a copy of the text. So at any time in this video, go ahead and pause and grab those things. We are going to do some noticing of just the first couple of pages in the book as it appears in the text excerpt I provided on the blog. And we are going to jump into steps 3 and 4. So let's just briefly touch on step 1, topics. What kinds of topics could we handle in a book the way Kwame handles The Undefeated? So if I think about it, his book kind of creates a timeline of Black history in the United States, all the way from slave trade to jazz and the Harlem Renaissance through to the Civil Rights Movement, all the way up through and into our Black Lives Matter moment in time, right? So it's a timeline of sorts. So I'm thinking like, gosh, I could write and capture my daughter's life. She just started high school. I could capture that as a timeline. Things that you could hold on to across time might be an interesting topic, right? It also might be good, as you're gonna see me do today, to gather up a group of people who have contributed to a certain movement or moment, a certain group perhaps, and then the work might be to categorize them, right? Kwame put them onto pages intentionally so that it created these little vignettes throughout the text. So I also wonder if he might have had to, dig deep into his knowledge bank and maybe build his knowledge base around the people that he featured in the text. I know I learned about some of the people that I had never heard of before, and that's part of the magic in the story as well. So with that, let's go ahead and do some craft noticings. And I really just want us to start with that immersion question of like, what do you notice? So let's go ahead and dig in. I've got, we're going to focus here on the left-hand column because that's where the text is. And then the references are over on the side. So here we go. This is for the unforgettable, the swift and sweet ones who hurdled history and opened a world of possible. The ones who survived America by any means necessary. And the ones who didn't. What do I notice? I notice something that reminds me that I'm recalling from having read it for our write about, and that is his use of the prefix un, right? It's everywhere. And he names it, he uses the word the in front of it every time. So it takes, like, unforgettable as an adjective, right? It's something that describes a moment in time or a person, might be unforgettable. But in this case, he turns it into a noun. This is for the unforgettable. I guess maybe it might still be an adjective. I might have to think that one through a minute. I think he's naming people that way, right? The undeniable. You are the undeniable. Maybe you'll post in the comments and help me out with the parts of speech, but it's interesting that he's using it as a label, right? Not just an adjective and a descriptive word. I also notice he's doing some repetition of this word, the ones, the sweet ones, the ones who survived, the ones who scored, with chains on one hand and faith in the other. The sophisticated ones, the audacious ones, the righteous marching ones. So he's kind of grouping people together using this prefix "un" and then telling us a little bit more about them by calling them the ones, right? I think one of my favorites might be on the back page where he talks about the real cool ones. And I think I need to know more about that because it doesn't roll off the tongue for me. And I'm curious where that comes from. So it's creating some curiosities for me. Let's see what else do we notice? Let's go back. This is for the unforgettable, the swift and sweet ones, the hurdled history. So I see some alliteration here. I'm just kind of glancing down to see if I see it in other places. I don't see a whole lot of alliteration in other places, so it might just be an opening. Here's the dreamers and the doers. Then he's listing names on the backside. Let's go back. What else do I know? I know he's using these italics. Right? So I'm imagining that means he's quoting something that for him might be familiar, for people reading the book who are familiar with these figures in history. That might be familiar. For me, it's not. There were very few of them that I knew, but they stand out as being important and symbolic of who he's referring to. The one in particular that I looked at on Tuesday was the Night is Beautiful ones, and that comes from Langston Hughes, who's not featured on that page in particular, but is featured on a previous page. Let's see, what else do I notice? This is for the undeniable, the ones who scored with chains on one hand and faith on the other. This is for the unflappable, the sophisticated ones who box adversity and tackle vision. This is on the page with Jack Johnson, who you find out, if you don't know, you find out in the author's note and in the illustration, was a boxer. And so I love that he's using these strong verbs that match the personality or the persona that's captured on that page, who shine their light for the world to see and don't stop till the break of dawn. This is for the unafraid, the audacious ones, who carried the red, white, and weary blues on the battlefield to save an imperfect union, the righteous marching ones. I think about the language he's using there is super important. It's very strong. It's very intentional. And yet there are not a whole lot of words on the page. I tend to be very wordy, which is why my videos are never less than 15 minutes long. But I notice he's very particular about his word choice. So with that in mind, let's give it a try. Like I feel like we could keep going and mining this for more and more, but I really want to try some close imitations with that. And to do that, I really, this is my first week back with kids at school. And so I have been in awe of educators this week, as I typically am at this time of the year, but this year feels different, right? So I want to start with, this is for the educators. And Kwame says the swift and sweet ones. And I'm thinking, so how would I describe the educators? The energetic and exhausted ones. I was able to capture a little alliteration there. I am hoping that in the comments today, maybe you'll just create a verse. That'd be super awesome. What if all of us just created a verse in the style of Kwame Alexander, posted it in the comments, and then I put it together as one long shared poem. Wouldn't that be awesome? If I had you in my class right now, that's exactly what we would be doing. We would be playing around with this with a shared topic that we know a lot about, and we would be putting this together. Wouldn't that be so cool? Oh, I think now I'm wishing we were all together. Okay, let me go back. The energetic and exhausted ones who hurdled history, Kwame says, and opened a world of possible. That's another noticing. This word could have been possibility, right? And instead he's using the noun, the possible. It is possible. Maybe it's an adjective. Oh my gosh, you guys. Am I just really that tired that I can't figure out the part of speech? Somebody will help me. I know it. I'm counting on you. All right. The energetic and exhausted ones who, gosh, I want to say something about that first day. How many of you had trouble with Zoom on that very first day? I know it was a national, global problem. Who, I want to say hurdled almost, who something Zoom, who slayed their first Zoom meetings, maybe even a day late, and welcomed kids back to school. In all transparency, this is a topic that I've been playing around with since I decided to use this text. And so there are some places that I've already kind of thought I might use certain things. For example, when it says this is for the unspeakable, the unspeakable, the unspeakable, I'm feeling like I'm dedicating this to all educators, but that one is going to be, this one is for the teacher, the teacher, the teacher, the one who is in front of kids every single day. I feel like that might be a moment of power in my poem. In other verses, I might shout out to principals and administrators who are in buildings doing this work. I might shout out to mental health professionals, to our specialists who are trying to schedule things. Ooh, there's a good alliteration. Our scheduling specialists, our health aides, our paraprofessionals, our coaches, our counselors. There are so many people involved in opening schools right now, and some who aren't. Right? I don't know about you, but in my district right now, we've lost some really amazing professionals who are simply not willing to risk it to reopen schools. So you can see my language is already kind of matching the pace and the tempo, I feel like, of Kwame's, at least I hope. So I'm going to play around with that on the blog. You are welcome to join me there, comment here on Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're accessing this. And of course, if you have a different topic in mind, different work, different imitation, please share it with us. This is how we're building a writing community. I know many of you out there are watching, and I'm hoping that this will be the week that you take that leap and join me in this space so that I, number one, know you're out there. That'd be super great. And number two, that we can continue to learn together and to lift each other up in this space. So here's a really cool thing. This video is going to be under 15 minutes, and I hope that you'll join me again next week. I haven't picked the text yet, so if you have one in mind, shoot me that in the comments as well. And until next time, guys, take care.